everyone, welcome back to the Sensible SENCO. So today I have got an unboxing video for you. We're going to have a look at something called Spot On with Numbers. I'll see you back at the desk in a moment. So here's my box of Spot On with Numbers. This is the Number Bonds pack. I apologise if you can hear birds in the background. It's a lovely hot day today and I cannot face shutting the windows and the door. So you're going to have to hear my wildlife. This is what the box looks like when it comes. I was going to do this as an unboxing video. We filmed this 7 days ago and then discovered that the box was kind of halfway off the screen and you couldn't see anything. So I'm refilming it and I'm afraid I've already opened everything. My box, when it came, has a little bit of damage. I think you can see that there, which is a little bit unfortunate. Had nothing to do with the company that sent it to me. It was my delivery man, I'm afraid. And it just happened to happen. However, the contents were not damaged, so it's not a major disaster. So I take the big lid off, and inside I have got a smaller box with some bits and pieces in it. There is a nice little letter to me, and there is a Spot On Number Bonds guide, which takes me through what the list of resources is and reminds me how I can actually use these products. Gives me some activities to do, learning objective up at the top, and then 3 activities I think for most of them. Oh, 3, 4, 5 is 13 activities. So different number of activities for each one, working through different things. So this is number bonds to 6, and there's 1, 2, 3, 4 activities for learning number bonds to 6. So a really great guide to start with. I could probably give that to a TA and say go and do some activities on number bonds to 5 or whatever with the child, and I've got that information there. Okay, other things that were in the box then, we have got this. I love this. So this is a number line. You see that? I think it's focusing. I'm not sure it's actually focusing properly. Let's see if it... it's kind of okay. It actually goes up to 20. So it goes from 0 to 20 with the numbers, but it also has on it the arrays, so the domino-like effect, if you like. Not quite, well, yeah, they are dominoes. Not like dice arrays, they're the domino arrays. I think that's great for kind of reinforcing what these patterns are with numbers. I love that. It's a very thick laminated plastic. I have tried. I can't rip it. I can't tear it. I did try bending one of the cards last week when I did this, and it did kind of have a little bit of a kink in it after I'd been bending it a little bit, but it did flatten out fairly quickly. I can imagine pouring my coffee over this and it would be absolutely fine. It's not a piece of laminated card where it could seep into the edges. I'm sure we've all done that, where you've spilt something on a laminated piece of paper and thought, oh, it'll be fine, only to discover this wonderful brown stain creeping across the page. Anyway, so we've got those. We have, however, got in here some laminated pieces of paper. She's trying to pick them all up. I'm not designed for this kind of thing. Good job I don't have big nails. Whoop. So there are some laminated sheets with activities. So we've got Race to the Treasure. We've got like the domino array, if you like, for making the patterns. We've got a tens grid. We've got spots and spikes, and these are just normal A4 laminated sheets. I wrote numbers on this one last week, but we've got a bubble that we break down to the things, and then we've got another number line here. I think this one goes from 1 to 12 up the scale, and then there's another one here. This is a photocopied booklet, if you like, which takes you through ideas for using the pegs and the boards for the first time. And I haven't shown you the pegs and the boards yet, so we'll have a look at those in a moment. Okay, so bearing in mind I had already played with this last week, when I first opened it, these, which are the boards, were in a stack of 10 of them, wrapped in plastic, and I had to unwrap each of them. And she says, whoop, put that one to one side for a moment. These, which are jumping out at me, the pegs, were in a little bag as well, which I've now tipped into the box, and are hiding in there. So let's take some of those bits out to start with. So I've got my 10 white. You can hear that they're wooden, and they have 5 drill holes in each one of them, like so. Take those out. Let's pop that to one side for a second. And there you can see my box of pegs. Quite like this. Pegs would be fairly cheap, I would guess, to replace. My only problem, which I discovered, is that they're not a snug fit. So they actually do fall out fairly easily. I've played with these before. I can't remember what we have. We have a child's game somewhere that you use these kind of pegs with. And when you push them in, it's quite a firm fit, if you like, quite a squeeze. And what happens is this bit, the peg, gets bent and broken. That's not going to happen with these because it's a loose fit. However, I can imagine several children sat next to each other and we could end up with a bit of nudging and jostling and knocking over each other's boards. Although with social distancing as it is at the moment, we're possibly not going to experience that quite so much. Here we go, 1, 2, 3. So maybe not. Maybe I'm worrying about something I don't need to worry about. Anyway, we've also got in there a little pack of dice. We've got 2 normal dice, the 1 to 6 dice, and then there's that nice blue, I want to call it a dodecahedron, but my mind's gone blank, 10-sided dice, whatever that one is. Yeah, which goes from 0 to 9. So that would be great for kind of rolling. Oh, it says 8 on the top of that. Make me the array for 8 using the dice. That's not 8, by the way, that's 5. So yeah, I like that one. That was a nice little one that's in there too. Okay, what else is in that box? So pop those to one side for a moment. There is a set of number cards, and if you saw my video on Dyscalculia, where I was doing my 10-minute SEN snippet, I went through some activities and I actually used these cards for doing that. So, I can't get them all. I could have prepared this, couldn't I? But then I thought, no, let's just go for it as it would normally be when you go and grab the box off the shelf and you're about to deliver a lesson. Okay, so back to the plastic again. It's the same as that number line I showed you. It's a really decent plastic with a printed number. I have got a pretty good fluorescent light above my head. It's a big round one. And I do get a little bit of glare off it, and I can certainly see a bit of glare when we're on the screen, but it's not enough to stop me reading the numbers. That said, they are quite a fine font, I suppose. I would prefer it if they were a bit bolder and a bit thicker, but that's just me. So a nice straight 7. This is the 6. I know it is the 6 because it's the curled shape. Come back to that in a moment. 20, I like the 0. 8, and here's the 9. So a 9 is with a straight stick, as opposed to what we sometimes see for a 9, and I have to admit I write my 9s like this, which is the curly bottom 9. So this is 6, this is 9. So we've got numbers, we've got 2 copies of number 5, I can tell you that before I even get there. So there's a number 5. 0. 1 is a straight 1, it's not got the flickers on it. 2, not a curly 2, and a 3, which is a curled 3, not a one with a straight lid, and 4, which is the open 4, not the closed 4. Like I say, 2 number 5s, I knew that they were coming up. 15, 16, here's my number 10. There is a blank one in there as well. One side is kind of matte and the other side gloss. The printing seems to be on the gloss side of it, so if I had to write on it, I probably suggest it goes on that side. I'm guessing it's probably dry wipe. It's just fiddle in the drawer at the side of me. I have a dry wipe pen that hasn't been stolen. You can tell I'm not in school. Let's go for a number 8. My number 8 on there. Put the lid back on the pen so it doesn't dry out. Give it a waft for a moment, and then use my thumb because you can never find the dry wipe marker to get rid of it, and that wiped off absolutely fine. There's no ghosting, no marking on there, so I would guess I could use that for writing a number should I lose one of these cards, or perhaps I need 2 10s for whatever reason. I am just going to try it on the other side though. Let's just go for a 7 on that side. Give it a waft, give it a quick dry, and I try to rub that one off, and that actually came off really well as well. On my hand, of course, but yeah, that came off too. Okay, so they are the number cards, and like I say, fairly sturdy, fairly strong, quite decent. Okay, also in the pack then are a set of, I want to call them Dominos, they're not, but domino arrays. So here's the number 3, Oh, look. Oh, there we go. I've made me number 3. So these are the arrangements for numbers. So we've got a 10. In fact, there are 10 tens. So we can count to 100 quite easily using our tens. We've got 9, 8, 7. Oh, we're doing well. 6. 2 5s again. 4. 3 I showed you a moment ago. 2 and 1. Colour-coded. Does the colour matter? Don't suppose so. I've got purple in the middle of that. It's whichever one I managed to grab hold of, I suppose. Might matter to some children. I don't think it matters too much, though. It's not that we're saying that 3 is always whatever colour it was. Orange. I did red. Okay, there and there. We also have a stack of these, and these were interesting. So I'm not sure. Oh, they do show okay on the screen. So if I in fact, where's that blank one gone? I'll just show that behind it. Look, you can see there's 5 dots on that one. So these are transparent plastic, but with the number array on there as a domino pattern. So I've got a 5. There's a 9, a 10, a 6, a 7, another 10, a 4, got it the wrong way round, a 1, a 5, a 2, a 3, and an 8. Just while I was reading those really quickly, it suddenly dawned on me, I obviously don't have dyscalculia. Children with dyscalculia would find it incredibly difficult to read that number very, very quickly. I know that pattern, and I know that that's an 8 straight away. It's one of those learned things, I suppose. I'm not having to count 5 and 3 and add them together. I'm not having to count them all individually. I'm just able to look at it and say 8. I can remember what the person said to use these for. However, I was looking at this last week. Let's say I have got 10, and I want to take 8 away. I could overlay these 2 cards. Could have again the right way around. I could overlay these 2 cards, and I could look. Oh, look, I've got 2 little pink ones, or lilac, whatever colour they are, left over. So 10 take away 8 must be my pattern of 2. Thought that was quite good. I suppose you could also use it for addition. So 6. Trying to work out how to do that. 6 plus 1. Would that work? Well, that wouldn't work, would it? Because no, I could only use it for takeaway. So I could do 6 take away 1. Would leave me with 5 because I've hidden that one. You can hear my brain cells processing this, can't you? I'm sure if I read through the instructions it would probably help. However, I'm a dabbler. I like to go in and play with things. I like to think, how am I going to use this? Because let's face it, most of the time we get the box of things, we might read the instructions and get some really good tips out of it. It then goes in the cupboard for 2, 3, 4 months, possibly longer if it's COVID-19. And then when we go to get it out, and we go, oh, God, why do you use that box there? And you get it out and you think, let's do some subtraction. Here you go, look, 6 take away 1, it's 5. So yeah, I'm playing like that. Same as I always do in teaching, ad lib. Anyway, so we have those as well, the blank versions. And there is a blank piece of plastic as well. Let's have a play then. Where's that number line gone? Here's that number line. So I'm going to put the number line on the table in front of me. I'm going to put it the right way up, like that. And I'm going to make some boards to match these. So I'm going to go 0 or 0, 1. I'm actually going to try and do them the right colour. Oh, 2, and I've got that pattern correct. 3 is apparently supposed to be orange. Let's just play it correctly. Play by the rules, Abigail, play by the rules. There's 3. Let's grab a 4. And a 5. Okay. I was trying to work out which colour blue that was supposed to be, by the way, if you're wondering. It's a very pale blue on the cards. So I thought there might be a paler version of this. There isn't. That's pale blue. So I'm going to go from 0 to 5. And I can now start playing with these a little bit, I suppose. So maybe I want to have a look, for example. Just pop those there for a second. Maybe I have got a board that has got in it some of these pegs. Or I've got some pegs across a couple of these boards. Might be a better way of putting that. Let's just randomly strew some pegs on a couple of boards. Okay. If I look at that, you and I can probably look at it and we can say that's 6. What I can do though, as a child who perhaps struggles with number, is I can go, okay, I probably need to move a couple of these over here. Put on back there. And this visually is represented here. And if I grab one of these cards, it's visually represented on one of these as well. How come I can't find the one I want when I grab it? There it is. There's my 6. Is represented as a 5 and a 1. So I'm kind of getting that preservation of number, that it doesn't matter where those pegs are, there's still only 6 of them. And I can move them around to an arrangement that I can remember, that I know, which is this one. I can move them around to that arrangement and know that that's 6. So that's one thing I could do with this. I suppose I could also then do the, okay, what's 6 and 2 more? Or 2 more. And I can put them in. And, well, I know that arrangement, because if I turn that way, that's my arrangement that goes with this one here, which is 8. So maybe that's going to help me with that. I can live with that. I can see quite a few uses and little activities I can do with that. Let's have a look at some of the things it's got in the book then. So this is the little photocopied set of sheets. So comparison, get children to make numbers 1 to 5, which I did. Showing them in different ways, get them to make 6 in different ways, so it's 5 and 1, it's 4 and 2, it's 3 and 3. Get them to then do that with their fingers as well. Bunny ears, apparently. Subitizing, talked about that earlier. Oh, it's got one here for making 5, so this has got 2, 1 and 2, and then gathering them all into one place to make that more regular arrangement of 5 that we all recognise. Quite like that. Making and visualising numbers, so using a bit of colour in there as well, a bit of colour pattern. Can we make to represent those? Oh, that we can turn around some of these, so this one. Doesn't matter whether it's that way, or it's that way, or it's that way, or it's that way, it's still 3. It doesn't change, which I quite like as well. Making patterns, making coloured patterns, changing it from 5 blue to 5 red by changing one peg at a time. And then it's got the instructions for playing some of those games. So moving up, throw the dice, make the number thrown, place their counter on the corresponding number on the track, which is the how high can you fly track. Player 2 throws the dice, makes their number, places the counter. Player 1 throws again, etc. So we're trying to get to 12 as quickly as we can. Counting on. Is it possible after 2 throws to reach 9 at the top of the track? Yes, because it was a 9-sided dice, unless I'm using the 6-sided dice. In which case I could throw 2 6s and still get there. Place value doesn't come with a set of place value cards, but I would imagine we all have those lurking somewhere now. If you haven't, I'm slightly worried, I think. Unless you've hidden them somewhere, of course. Drawing it on a blank number line or a number line. Oh, that was the one where we're breaking it down. So I'd already written on it last week. 100 can be broken into 20 and something. So once I've worked out what that something is, which is 80, 100, take away the 80, I've got 20, 20 plus 80 make 100. It's that triangle of facts that we sometimes use. So it's showing you that one. The treasure game, working our way through playing that one. I quite like the butterflies, so halving numbers which in this case is 14. What's half of 14? Big butterfly shape. We make the pattern of 7 on one side and the pattern of 7 on the other. So quite like that. That's fun. 28 divided by 4 is 7, therefore 7 times 4 is 28. Again, relationships between numbers. So that's one thing for doing with it. It does say, let your imagination and creativity flow. I quite like that because that does mean I can use it however I want. It also says there is no right or wrong way to use them. And numbers do not have to be represented as dice patterns. They can be represented in any way that is meaningful, as long as it makes sense. Okay, I quite like that because sometimes for me 3 is better represented like that, even though traditionally we tend to represent it in a line. For some reason, I don't know why, out of habit I tend to go around the outside edge of something, and when I made the 2, every single time I did it, I actually did it 2 of them like that as opposed to in opposite corners. But you know, does it really matter? Probably not. 4 would probably look a little weird like that, to be fair. Anyway, so it tells me to play with them. I'm happy to play. Let's have a look in the other booklet then, see what we've got going on in there. So we've got the Number Bonds Guide here. This is all... Ooh, it's my fault for throwing it a moment ago. Talking about subitizing again, we've got perceptual subitizing. So being able to take it from being 2, 2 and 1 to being all on one board. Conceptual subitizing. So that was my ability to recognise straight away that these numbers... Why can't you find one when you need one? But something like this, which is 7, recognising it straight away, the conceptual. I know that's 5, I know that that's 2, therefore it's going to be 7, that kind of thing. So number facts does not need to be explicitly taught. Yeah, I suppose not really, actually you'll pick them up. How can we represent 6? 6 can be represented by 6 boards with 1 on each, or 1 and 5, or 5 and 1, or 4 and 2, or 3 and 3. I like the way the 3 and 3 is represented differently. Just move that down so you can see it. Yeah, plenty of activities in there to kind of play with them. It's not taking me into anything massively high up on the national curriculum. I can do my number bonds to 20 quite easily by the looks of it. It also starts looking at number bonds in multiples of 10 to 100, which is why I've got 10 of those, not that one, 10 of these ones to be able to do that with. And it's got some bar modelling down there as well if you're a bar modeller. Okay, I like it. I do like it. They're robust. I can make a noise with them. Actually, no, I could just imagine my year 3 class. That would annoy everybody, wouldn't it? Yeah. This plastic ones are not quite so noisy, to be fair. I do like them. They're fun. They're a little bit different. They're manipulatives, and very often we need manipulatives with children when we're trying to teach maths concepts, especially if they're struggling. I like the visualisation there. I like the fact it's related on domino kind of ways. I actually think playing dominoes after doing something like this would probably be really good, getting children to recognise those numbers as well. And dominoes are dead cheap to pick up. You can pick them up in the pound store, so... Yeah, if you're looking for a gift for your students at the end of term and you can afford £1 a child, that's a pretty good one to go for. In fact, thinking about it, I think B&M had them 49p at one point. So, and they're wooden dominoes too. Yeah, I like them. I love the fact the cards are really robust. I can't damage them. So they're going to last me a while. Now, could I use this with a whole class? I think I'd struggle. I certainly couldn't use it as a teacher at the front of the room. I mean, it's not big. I wouldn't be, and I can't hold it up because, well, I can, but I can imagine them falling out. I suppose the way around that would be to put a tiny bit of blue tack right the way down the bottom of those holes. Other brands are available, so that when I pop the peg in, it kind of sits into something tacky, and then they won't fall out. But to be fair, if I'm trying to hold that up in front of a class of 30 students, I think I'm going to have trouble anyway. So some other form of representation, or I suppose get the husband to draw me a large piece of wood and get me some larger pegs to shove in it. So I can't see using it as a whole class resource. I could see using it with a small group. So if I was working with 5 or 6 children around a table and I was trying to get them to recognise numbers, or I was trying to get them to learn number bonds or very simple subtraction, then yes, I can see that working for that. I think it's quite expensive to do that because this box is £50. And I would need a box per child because I've only got 10 of these blocks. That said, you can buy parts of it individually. So you can buy big bags of pegs and you can buy these blocks individually. So you perhaps don't need all of the resources. You only need one starter kit and then buy some bits to add on to it. And you could have a look at those prices to see if that's feasible. One-to-one working with a child, presuming we're not socially distancing from them, yes, I can see this working. I can actually see my youngest son's just turned 3. He recognises numbers, so I can hold these up in front of him and say what number's that, and he'll tell me it's 8. I could show him the array of 8 or the array of 7 because I can't find it. I could show him this and he will instantly tell me what number that actually is. I haven't actually got to do anything like that with him, but at the moment, if I had given him this and said how many are there, chances are he might tell me 4, 3, 1, which would be quite entertaining, but he would not tell me there's 8. So for me to move him on to the next stage, it would be, looking at this, 4 and 4 makes 8, or possibly even my 5 and 3, which make 8 as well. So I've got somewhere I could move with him doing that. He likes numbers, so we should have fun doing that. Not entirely sure about these with a 3-year-old. Nibble them somewhere. Older children. Can see this being used in primary schools. Not so sure about it possibly being used in secondary schools. Again, one-to-one, if they've been taken off somewhere, possibly, because other people wouldn't see them using them. But I can't imagine them having them in the corner of the classroom using them. I think that would cause a little bit too much prejudice for that child. That said, it is a resource that has been approved by the BDA, the British Dyslexia Association. So they are saying it is a suitable resource for working with children who have dyscalculic difficulties, and presumably dyslexic difficulties, who are struggling with maths. And like I say, the quality, I can't fault the quality at all, with the exception of the plastic box that got battered, but I think that was my postman as opposed to anything else. So I'll come back to you in a couple of minutes and we can have a chat about what I'm going to give it out of 10. See you in a minute, guys. Okay, guys, so we've had a look through the contents of Spot On with Number, and now's the time to add up those scores. So my scoring system is out of 10, and you can score 0, 1 or 2 points against each of 5 factors. So the first factor is, what age groups is this suitable for? So is this a resource that goes across all age ranges, or is it just for one specific age range? And with the case of Spot On with Number, I very much feel that it is a primary resource. A lot of the things in there were for early years and Key Stage 1. I could personally see it being used in Key Stage 2, but certainly not in Key Stage 3, Key Stage 4. So I'm going to give it 1 mark out of 2. The next category is whether it's suitable for whole class and for interventions. And I would say that this is not a whole class resource. Definitely suitable for one-to-one interventions, with a bit of tweaking, possibly suitable for small group interventions as well. So again, it's going to get 1 out of 2 marks. The third category is engagement. How engaging is this actual resource? And we're following a bit of pattern here, because again I'm going to go for 1 out of 2. I like it. It's manipulative. I can actually move things around and do something with it. I can move that maths. However, it doesn't give me any feedback. So children these days, or children now, are used to getting that instant feedback about whether they've done something right or wrong, and it doesn't give them that. So I can only really give it 1 out of 2 on the engagement factor. My fourth category is value for money, and within value for money I have the quality of the resources and the longevity as well. Are they going to last? Are they actually worth the money? So Spot On with Number, that big pack that I showed you, is about £50, give or take a couple of quid for postage and packaging, and is definitely going to last you a year. It's fairly robust. The materials there are going to survive a period of time. However, £50 to work with an individual child is probably going to be seen by a lot of people as quite expensive, to be honest. So I am still going to go with 1 out of 2 as my mark for that one. However, do check on the screen, because Spot On with Number did manage to arrange for you a really nice 15% discount using the code that's on the screen. And then the final category is to do with accreditation and recognition. We know as SENCOs we have to check, has this got any evidence-based research that goes with it? Or is it in the EEF? Is it something that everybody knows about already? And for new products breaking into the market, that can be really difficult because they're not known, and that research generally hasn't been done because it's very expensive to get it commissioned and sorted. In the case of Spot On with Number, no, it's not recognised by the EEF. No, I couldn't find any evidence-based research for it, although I'm sure some possibly exists. However, it is recognised by the BDA, which is the British Dyslexia Association. They are saying it's a good product to use with students who have dyscalculia or number difficulties related to their dyslexia. So I am going to give it 1 mark out of 2. I'd love to see it featured in the DFE toolkit or in that EEF Foundation toolkit over the next couple of years, in which case it'll be getting 2 out of 2. So overall, our score for Spot On with Number was 5 out of 10. Now that sounds awful, but it isn't. Actually, it's a pretty good starting point. And for a product that hasn't been out there an awfully long time, I think it's a pretty good place to be. Take care, guys. See you soon.